Welcome to another End Times Bible study. I'm Giselle Aguiar, and my purpose with these short story-like studies is to make Bible prophecy easy to understand. Today I answer the question, are we in the last days or the end times? Yes, it's confusing. Furthermore, it really doesn't help that the two terms are used interchangeably. Nevertheless, there is a significant difference between the last days and the end times. We'll uncover the truth about these prophetic terms and what the Bible says about them. Let's dig in. Hebrews 1:1-2 says, in the past, God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets at many times and in various ways. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom he also made the universe. So the last days started with Jesus' ministry. In the Old Testament, God spoke to the people through the prophets, yet the people didn't listen, for they heard the word but failed to obey it. The last verses of the last book of the Old Testament, Malachi, reads, as Malachi wrote, "Look, I am sending you the prophet Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord arrives. His preaching will turn the hearts of fathers to their children and the hearts of their children to their fathers. Otherwise, I will come and strike the land with a curse." It's Malachi 4:5-6. After this prophecy, for 400 years, between Malachi and Matthew, God was silent. And I did a deep dive into what happened during that time period. The link is in the description. Then the spirit of Elijah came in the voice of John the Baptist. All four Gospels cover it: John 1, Luke 3, Matthew 3, and Mark 1. Obviously, in these Gospel chapters, Jesus started teaching about his kingdom come. As he was getting closer to the cross, he wanted to warn his disciples and us that things were going to get worse before his return. In my next video, I'll explain the difference between the rapture and Jesus' second coming. There is a difference, so subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss it. Jesus clearly laid out what would be happening in the last days in his Olivet Discourse, which we will cover in depth in future videos. So subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. Jesus talked about birth pains. In Mark chapter 13, verses 6-8, Jesus explained, quote, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Messiah.' They will deceive many, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in many parts of the world, as well as famines. But this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come." Now, a little side note here. The word nation in Greek is ethnos, which is where we get our word for ethnic. So it's basically ethnic group will go to war against other ethnic groups. Isn't that what's happening right now? The prophet Isaiah wrote about the birth of Israel. And we read, "Who has ever seen anything as strange as this? Who ever heard of such a thing? Has a nation ever been born in a single day? Has a country ever come forth in a mere moment? But by the time Jerusalem's birth pains begin, her children will be born. Would I ever bring this nation to the point of birth and then not deliver it, asks the Lord? No, I would never keep this nation from being born, says your God." Well, this actually happened in 1948. Prophecy fulfilled. However, God's borders are a bit bigger than the little sliver that Israel got. And in Exodus 23:31, God explains what Israel's borders would look like. And he said, "And I will fix your boundaries from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and from the eastern wilderness to the Euphrates River. And I will hand over to you the people now living in the land, and you will drive them out ahead of you." So when did the birth pains start? So Ezekiel 36:28 reads, "And you will live in Israel, the land I gave your ancestors long ago. You will be my people, and I will be your God. Bible prophecy scholars say that even though the last days started with Jesus' ministry, everything that Jesus spoke about in the prophetic chapters started accelerating and converging in 1948 when the nation of Israel was born. Ezekiel 37 talks about the valley of dry bones and how they came back to life. That describes the nation of Israel. Check out the studies I did on Ezekiel 37 through 39. The links are in the description. So when do the last days end? The last days end with the rapture of the born-again believers. Now, I don't use the word church because many people think they're Christians, but they're only halfway Christians. Moreover, halfway Christians, like Catholics, unbelievers, and the unbelieving Jews will get left behind. Right now, we're also in what's called the church age. It's the time when Jesus told his believers to go and make disciples in the Great Commission. So now that we know when the last days start and end, what comes next? When do the end times start? The end times begin with the 7 years of tribulation. And what will trigger the end times? The Antichrist, or the beast, will sign a 7-year treaty with Israel. In my opinion, what makes sense to me is that the rapture will trigger the Ezekiel 38 war, the war of Gog and Magog against Israel. There will be relative peace in Israel when this war starts, and I foresee this as a strong possibility. However, God wins the war for Israel, as Ezekiel 39 predicts. Then it would make sense for the Antichrist to step up and create this peace treaty with Israel. Then we have the third temple. Unfortunately, the beast ends the treaty halfway through. He will enter the third temple in Jerusalem and desecrate it. Now you're saying, because there's no third temple. He goes, well, that's the thing. So if the war of Gog and Magog, maybe the Dome of the Rock or the Alaska Mosque will be destroyed. And so it's going to make room for the third temple in the Temple Mount. And believe me, there's a whole group of Jews that have the temple plans ready to go. And, as soon as that space is available, boom, I think it will be up in 3 years. So it just so makes sense that the temple will be up and ready, and then the Antichrist, halfway through 3.5 years into the after the rapture and into the tribulation, he'll enter the third temple and desecrate it, and that will trigger the start of the Great Tribulation. And you really don't want to be around for that. And I have Bible studies on what the Great Tribulation will be like. So look for the links in the description. Yes, there will be people whose eyes are opened moments after the rapture, left behind, but you will get a second chance. In fact, that's what my new novel is about. Nevertheless, everyone who's left behind will have to go through the Great Tribulation, and if they haven't turned to Jesus, they will have to take the mark of the beast. What about you? Now that the difference is clear, where do you stand? With Jesus? Remember, it could happen at any moment. Can you feel the urgency? The time is now. Get right with God before it's too late. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like this video and share it with your family and friends. And subscribe so you don't miss the next End Times Bible study. And if you like reading, check out my blog, search through the archives for topics in Bible studies. Also check out the Christian bookstore with hot picks on Christian books from Bible prophecy, biblical worldview, biographies, memoirs, and Christian fiction. The links are below. Remember this, Jesus didn't suffer torture and die so we could have religion. No, he died so he could have a personal relationship with you. Yes, you. He said in Revelation 3:20, look, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and we will share a meal together as friends. So what are you waiting for? Click below where it says how to know Jesus. Finally, I'll leave you with the Aaronic blessing from Numbers 6:24-26. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Shalom, shalom, and have a blessed day.